I want you to see a clip. It's in Hebrew, but it has English subtitles that was put out by former Prime Minister, Defense Minister, IDF Chief of Staff, and multi-bazillionaire Ehud Barak. I saw it, it was posted on Twitter, I think, a day or two ago by this organization, this anarchist Israeli organization that's trying to overthrow the government of Israel called Unacceptable. They've been organizing all of these anti-government riots. They were doing it in the year leading up to October 7th, and they're trying to renew their operations now. So just look at what he says to them.
ממשלה בלתי לגיטימית בעליל, שדגל שחור מתנוסס מעל מהלכיה בפועל וכוונותיה לעתיד. ביום בו יפוטר מי משומרי הסף, היועמ"שית או ראש השב"כ, או יופרו שוב בבוטות צווי עשה של הבג"ץ, יוותר המרי האזרחי, או בשפה מדויקת אי ציות אזרחי בלתי אלים, הברירה היחידה של פטריוטים בחברה חפצת חיים. מי שאמורים להוביל את המרי האזרחי הם ראשי האופוזיציה. הם נדרשים להתייצב יחד ולומר, אנחנו לא מקימים גוש, אנחנו חלוקים בהרבה דברים, אבל מאוחדים בדבר אחד, שראש הממשלה איננו כשיר, ופעולות ממשלתו אינן לגיטימיות, פוגעות בביטחון ובדמוקרטיה, ומובילות את ישראל לתהום. הם חייבים לקרוא להשבתת המדינה 24/7 חוץ משירותי החירום. הם חייבים בדוגמה אישית להודיע שחברי הכנסת שלהם, והם בראשם, מפסיקים את השתתפותם בדיוני המליאה, ויכנסו מחדש רק לדיון על פיזור הכנסת. והם אמורים לקרוא לאזרחי המדינה להצטרף אליהם לשביתת שבט מסביב לכנסת עד לפיזורה. מעשים אלה יעניקו להם את התוקף המוסרי לקרוא לכל גורמי הכוח במדינה להצטרף להשבתה הכללית.
Right, so Ehud Barak is calling for civil war. That's what he's saying, right? He's saying that if the government fires the attorney general, fires the chief of staff, fires any of the people that they have decided, rightly, I think, are their representatives, their non-elected representatives that are gumming up the work and trying to paralyze the operations of the government, the normal operation of the government, then they're gonna paralyze the country. And they're gonna general strike, they're gonna everything that they did before October 7th, barricade the Knesset, harass members of Knesset engaged in their lawful duties as public officials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what they're planning on doing, right? That's what he said. He's laying it out right there. By the way, Unacceptable said that they're gonna help the anti-Trump people go after Trump and gum up the works against Trump using the lessons learned that they've accrued from their anti-government operations against the Israeli government. So that's interesting, just so you know, like they view themselves, they're a group of Israelis who emigrated to the United States, and Barak is talking to them, so it's sort of an interesting mix here. So that's what's happening with him. And Ehud Barak, this wasn't the only reason that he made the news this week. He also made the news because the United States just approved, this is, part of the whole backdoor, let's get stuff done, let's clean the desk, let's give pardons to absolutely everybody we can think of who's on our side, preemptive, or after the fact pardons to thousands and thousands and thousands of people that Biden is doing. So they also did something else. I think it was in 2020 or 19, Ehud Barak, together with a man named Ehud Schneerson, who was the head of the IDF Signals Intelligence Unit 8200, they formed a cyber security firm called Paragon that had a cyber worm called Graphite. And they essentially cooperated with the United States to destroy Israel's cybersecurity industry. And what they did was we had these, I've spoken about it in the past, we had these cybersecurity groups like NSO, Candira, and many others that were world leaders in the area. And so we had this weird situation where out of nowhere popped this group called Citizen Lab in the University of Toronto, and they started attacking NSO and saying that they were rogue criminal group because they were undermining the civil rights, the human rights of of civil rights activists and of journalists. And so they were besmirching NSO. Most of their allegations against NSO were exposed as false, but only when it was too late. And in the meantime, as NSO and other Israeli cybersecurity firms were being attacked in the media in the West, they formed Paragon. And what they did and so NSO and Kandera were Israeli firms, and they worked with the Prime Minister's office, and they were tools both against terrorism and also for diplomacy. And they played a key role in kind of priming the pump for the Abraham Accords with their work in the Arab world. That was, of course, proved by the government because they're Israeli firms and they advanced Israel's national interests. So what Ehud Barak and Ehud Schneerson did was they went to this lobbying firm that was formed by Obama administration alumni, most importantly, Tony Blinken, Avril Haines, who's now the outgoing director of national intelligence, and some others. And they said to him, look, they said to the Americans, look, what we're going to do is we have this company we founded, which also has a cyber tool and called Graphite. And what we're going to do is we're going to act as your company, as like a Democratic party equity, basically, not Israeli. And we're only going to work with companies that you allow us to work with. Okay? So that's what they did. So they were using Israeli technology, Israeli know-how that was all developed in Unit 8200 that Schneerson had just completed his duties as commander of that unit. He also convinced a lot of his senior officers there to quit the IDF and join him and work for him. So he really undermined the unit itself, the signals intelligence unit itself, by bringing them all out of the IDF. And then they turned what they used, they used all of their know-how that they got from the IDF in order to advance the interests of these Democratic Party operatives. And then lo and behold, it was called West Exec, the company that Blinken and Michelle Flournoy and Avril Haines and Dan Shapiro led. And then Biden was inaugurated in January, and towards the end of 2021, they put all of the Israeli cybersecurity firms except Paragon on the blacklist, that weren't allowed to operate in the United States, work with Americans. They weren't allowed to travel to the United States. They destroyed the Israel cybersecurity industry in one fell swoop, except for one firm, which was Paragon. And Paragon got a deal with the Drug Enforcement Agency, and that's it. So Paragon sitting in the catbird seat, they've destroyed one of the most important strategic tools that Israel developed, which was cybersecurity. And now, as Biden cleans his desk, it was just announced that Paragon was sold to an American private equity firm in Florida, in Boca Raton, for $900 million.